Welcome to Yoga Fitness virtually. My name is Romina. I will be your instructor for today. It is November 20th. We will be going through a 45-minute yoga fitness class. It is a beginner's yoga class, going through some sitting poses, transitioning into some standing poses, and finalizing as we're cooling down in our Savasana. So whenever you're ready, just meeting me in a child's pose to start off our class. Sending your glutes back to your heels and extending your arms out towards the top of your mat if you have one. Gently placing your forehead down on your mat. And just allowing your body to relax in this pose. Coming into your breath. I like to start off my classes with a quote for the day. So today my quote is, "You never really know the true impact you have on those around you. You never know how much someone needed that smile you gave them. You never know how much your kindness turned someone's entire life around. You never know how much someone needed that long hug or that deep talk. So don't wait to be kind. Don't wait for someone else to be kind first. Don't wait for better circumstances or for someone to change. Just be kind, because you never know how much someone needs it." So continuing on with that quote, maybe you want to set an intention for today, something that you maybe hope to achieve at the end of class, or something that you want to think about outside of class. My own intention for today is kindness. Kindness with others, but also with myself. Just relaxing and not being stressed out by school or any other outside things. Just taking just a couple more breaths here, coming into your breath if possible. As you inhale, feeling those lungs expanding, filling up with air. And as you exhale, completely releasing out all of the air. As slowly as you can, maybe with every breath, coming closer to your mat. Whenever you're ready, on our next inhale, slowly inhaling up and meeting me in a seated position, whether that is in a crisscross position or up on your knees, whatever is most comfortable for you today. Moving into some neck stretches. So on our next inhale, inhaling, filling up the lungs, lifting up the chest, feeling our lungs expanding. And exhaling as we completely release down. Not holding any tension in the neck here. So we're slowly waking up our bodies. Really following the breath. Making sure not to overextend the neck here, only going to wherever feels most comfortable for you today. Letting the breath guide you. Trying to stand up tall in your posture. Switching to the other side if you haven't done so already. Just really letting the breath guide you here. Releasing all of that tension that you may be feeling from sitting on the computer all day or on your phone. In our technology-full world. Whenever you're ready, just meeting me back at center. Taking a couple of breaths here, maybe rolling the shoulder blades back, opening up the chest to allow more air to flow through our lungs. On our next inhale, inhaling our arms up, hands towards the air, palms facing each other. And exhaling as we drop that left hand down, stretching out over to the side, bringing that right arm over to our left side of the body, feeling that slight stretch in the obliques, Inhaling as we come back up towards center, inhaling both arms up, elongating that spine. And exhaling as we tilt over to the other side, bringing that left arm over to the right side of our body. Again, maybe feeling that slight pull or stretch in the side obliques. Inhaling back up towards center. Holding at the top. And exhaling as we release over. Maybe going in a little bit deeper with every stretch. Feeling free to take this at your own breath, at your own pace, or maybe 1 or 2 more times on each side, whatever you would like for class today. These next 45 minutes are all about you. And whenever you're ready, just slowly exhaling your hands down, placing them down on our mat. On our next breath, transitioning into our tabletop position. Coming onto all fours here, making sure that your hips are stacked over your knees and that your shoulders are stacked over your wrists. Your gaze is out slightly in front of you and that your back is flat here. On our next inhale, dropping that belly down, bringing that gaze up towards the ceiling, cow. Exhaling as we round out through that spine, keeping that gaze towards the back of the mat, cat. Inhaling as we bend bring our stomach back down towards our mat, gaze up towards the ceiling. Cow, maybe feeling that slight stretch in the lower spine. Exhaling as we round out through that spine, bringing that belly button tucked into our tailbone. Cat. Feeling free to go through 2 more flows of this at your own breath, at your own pace. Really letting the breath guide you here through every movement as we are slowly warming up our bodies here. And whenever you're ready, just meeting in a neutral tabletop position. Moving into our first downward dog. So on our next inhale, tucking those toes under our body and exhaling as we extend our hips up towards the ceiling in our downward dog, keeping that gaze towards the back of the mat. Allowing yourself a couple of breaths here to pedal out your feet, shifting your weight from one leg to the other, releasing any tension in the backs of the legs. Making sure that we're pressing our head in between our shoulder blades so that we are not hurting our neck or straining our neck. Making sure to keep breathing. Transitioning into our first vinyasa flow here. So on our next inhale, shifting our weight over into a high plank. Option to drop down to your knees if you would like. Exhaling as we slowly lower our bodies down towards our mat, making sure our elbows are pinned against us. And inhaling as we lift up into our first option for back bend, which is baby cobra. If you're in your baby cobra, keeping that gaze out towards the top of the mat. Shoulder blades slightly engaged. Inhaling as we tuck our toes back under our bodies. And exhaling as we extend back up into our downward dog. Again, feeling free to take a couple of breaths here, walking out the dog, shifting the weight from one leg to the other. As we are slowly warming up our lower bodies now, moving slowly from head to toe. On our next inhale, shifting our weight over again into a high plank, option to drop down to your knees if you would like. Exhaling as we slowly lower our bodies down, head leading first and then hips. And inhaling as we lift up into our second option of back bend, which is full Cobra. If you're in full Cobra, keeping that gaze out directly in front of you, shoulder blades pulled away from the ears, slight engagement of the lower back. And exhaling as we completely release down into our child's pose, bringing those glutes back to those heels, extending our arms out towards the top of the mat. Child's pose will be available all throughout class today. If you are maybe not feeling any of the poses that we'll be completing and would prefer to be in child's pose, you are more than welcome to do so. Child's pose will be something that we come back to frequently throughout the class, focusing back in on the breath, centering ourselves, trying to practice stillness, as the mind benefits from stillness and the body benefits from movement. So on our next inhale, tucking those toes back under our body and exhaling as we extend up into our downward dog, sending those hips up towards the ceiling, gaze towards the back of the mat, palms pressing down on our mat. Inhaling as we shift that weight over into a high plank, and exhaling as we bring that right foot in between our hands, dropping that left knee down on our mat and untucking that toe. Inhaling as we lift our chest up into a low lunge here, trying to gain your balance. As you're in your low lunge, making sure that your knee is stacked over your ankle and that you're still able to see your toes in front of your knee, as well as also making sure that your hips are square towards your mat. Option to keep your hands on your hips, placed on top of your knee, or inhaling them up overhead, palms facing each other. Taking just a couple of breaths here, maybe with every breath, sinking a little bit deeper into your stretch, feeling that slight stretch in the upper thighs. On our next exhale, slowly sending our glutes back towards our left heel, bringing the hands down on our mat, flexing through that foot now, making sure not to point the toes, but instead flexing through the heel, feeling that slight stretch underneath the leg, trying to keep your back as flat as possible here, not curving out. And inhaling as we slowly lift back up into our low lunge, maybe feeling a little bit deeper into your stretch, a little bit more grounded on your mat. And exhaling as you place your palms down on our mat. Inhaling as we tuck that left toe back under our bodies, and exhaling as we extend that right leg back into our downward dog. Switching over to the other side now. So on our next inhale, shifting our weight over into a high plank, and exhaling as we bring that left foot in between our hands, dropping that right knee down on our mat and untucking that toe. Inhaling as we slowly lift our chest up into a low lunge. Again, making sure that your knee is stacked over your ankle, that you're still able to see your toes in front of your knee, and that your hips are square towards the mat. Again, placing your hands wherever feels most comfortable for you today, whether that is overhead, placed on top of your knee, or on your hips. Taking a couple of breaths here. Again, always listening to your bodies no matter what. On our next exhale, slowly sending our glutes back towards our right heel, placing our hands down on our mat, flexing through the heel and not the toe. Feeling that slight stretch underneath the leg. Keeping that gaze out towards the top of the mat, back as flat as possible. And inhaling as we bend back out through that left knee into our low lunge. Maybe again, feeling a little bit more, or feeling able to sink a little bit deeper into your stretch. And exhaling as we place the palms of our hands back down on our mat. Inhaling as we tuck that left toe back under our bodies. And exhaling as we extend the left leg back into our downward dog. Again, moving into our second vinyasa flow series here, going through our third option of back bend. So on our next inhale, shifting our weight over into a high plank, making sure that your shoulders are stacked over your wrists. Option to drop down to your knees if you would like. Exhaling as we slowly lower our bodies down towards our mat, making sure our elbows are pinned against us, head leading first. And inhaling as we lift up into our up dog, third variation of back bend. If you're in your up dog, making sure the tops of your feet are pressed down in the mat so that your knees are slightly hovered over. Inhaling as we tuck our toes back under our body, and exhaling as we extend back up into our downward dog, sending those hips up towards the ceiling, gaze towards the back of the mat. Feeling free to choose your own option for back bend here, whether that is baby cobra, full cobra, or up dog. Making sure to follow your own breath, your own pace, and whenever you're ready, just meeting me in a child's pose. Whenever you're in child's pose, just coming back into your breath here. With every breath, feeling yourself maybe a little bit more grounded towards your mat, towards the floor. Maybe seeing if you see any kind of slight difference in your glutes, reaching your heels compared to at the beginning of class. Maybe gently massaging your forehead here, rocking your head from side to side, releasing any thoughts that may be coming into your mind, and only focusing in on this yoga class if possible. Moving into our standing series pose now. So on our next inhales, tucking those toes back under our body and exhaling as we extend our legs back up into our downward dog. Inhaling as we shift our weight over into a high plank, and exhaling as we bring that right foot in between our hands, this time not dropping that back knee down. Whenever you feel balanced, inhaling your arms up and out into our warrior two, pivoting that back foot 90 degrees so that it is parallel towards the back of our mat. Arms out in a T position, palms facing down towards our mat. Also making sure that our knee is stacked over our ankle again, and that our front heel is running in a straight line with the back arch of our foot. Warrior two. On our next inhale, turning that front palm up towards the ceiling, and exhaling as we sweep our arms back into our reverse warrior. Option to keep your gaze up towards the ceiling or down towards the mat, as well as option to keep your hand placed along the side of your leg or wrapped around your back, whatever is most comfortable for you today. As you're in your reverse warrior here, making sure that your weight is still shifted into that front leg and that you're not straightening it out, if possible. Also feeling that slight engagement in the core here. On our next exhale, sweeping our arms back out into our warrior two, allowing yourself a couple of breaths here to release any tension in that front leg, maybe straightening it back out and slowly bending it back down, taking a couple of shoulder rolls to open up the chest, allowing more air to pass through your lungs. Slowly coming back into your warrior two, maybe trying to challenge yourself and going just a little bit deeper into your warrior two. Again, making sure that your knee is stacked over your ankle and that your front heel is running in a straight line with the back arch of your foot. Keeping that gaze out towards your right hand. On our next inhale, hinging at those hips, reaching forward, straightening that front leg, and exhaling as we sweep our arms down into our triangle pose. As you're in your triangle pose here now, again, option to keep that gaze up towards the ceiling or down towards the mat, as well as option to place your hand down on the floor, down on top of your foot, or on top of your shin, wherever is most comfortable for you today. Trying to align your shoulder blades here as you're in your triangle pose, making sure to keep breathing. And inhaling as we slowly lift back up into our warrior two. Taking just a couple more breaths here in our warrior two. Trying to practice stillness if you can, letting the breath guide you. And exhaling as we cartwheel those arms down, placing them on our mat, pivoting that back foot. And exhaling as we bring that right foot back into our downward dog. Taking a couple of breaths here again to walk the dog out, releasing any tension that you may be feeling behind the legs. Maybe slowly lifting up onto your tippy toes and back down, trying to bring your heels down towards the mat as best as you can to feel that slight stretch in the backs of the legs. Shifting over to the other side now. So on our next inhale, shifting our weight over into a high plank. And exhaling as we bring that left foot in between our hands, not dropping down the knee this time. Once you feel that you've gained your balance, inhaling as we lift the chest up, bringing your arms out, up and out in a T position, palms facing down, pivoting that back foot 90 degrees. Bending into that front left leg now in our warrior two. Maybe taking your hand here and slowly pushing your knee out just a little bit so that we're completely opening up our hips here. On our next inhale, turning that front palm up towards the ceiling and exhaling as we sweep our arms back into our reverse warrior. Making sure again that our weight is still in that front leg so that we are not straightening it out. Option to keep that gaze up towards the ceiling or down towards the mat, as well as option to keep your hand along the side of your leg or wrapped around your back. Slight engagement of the core here. You guys got this. We're all so strong. On our next exhale, sweeping our arms back out into our warrior two, allowing yourself a couple of breaths here to readjust in our warrior two, releasing any tension in that front left thigh that you may be feeling, maybe straightening out the leg and then bending it back down. Again, doing a couple of shoulder rolls, maybe forwards and backwards, making sure to open up the chest, allowing as much airflow as possible, and slowly coming back down into our warrior two. Again, maybe challenging yourself a little bit and going just a little bit deeper into our warrior two to really feel that burn in that front thigh. On our next inhale, hinging at those hips, reaching forward, straightening that front leg, and exhaling as we sweep our arms down into our triangle pose. Again, an option to keep that gaze up towards the ceiling or down towards the mat, as well as option to keep your hand placed down on the mat, on top of your foot or on top of your shin. Making sure that when you're in your triangle pose here, that you are trying to align your shoulders, opening up the chest. Both legs are straightened out here. And inhaling as we slowly lift back up into our warrior two, bending through that front left knee, bringing our arms out into a T position, palms facing down, gaze towards that left hand. And exhaling as we cartwheel our arms down, pivoting that back foot 90 degrees so that it is parallel towards our right foot. And exhaling as we bring that left foot back into our downward dog. Feeling free to go through as many vinyasa flows as you would like. Right now, maybe challenging yourself and going for 3 or however many you would like, whether that is 1, 2, 3, or none. Just following your own breath, your own pace. And giving yourself kindness no matter what. Whenever you're in your child's pose, again, just always coming back into that breath, regaining control. As you inhale, feeling those lungs expanding, filling up with air. Maybe trying to hold at the top. And exhaling as we slowly release out all of the air. With every breath, maybe trying to deepen the breath as you inhale. And as you exhale, lengthening it out as best as you can. Moving into our final standing pose, which is our peak pose. So on our next inhale, again, tucking those toes back under our body. And exhaling as we extend our legs back up into our downward dog, gaze towards the back of the mat, head pressed in between our shoulder blades, hips sending up towards the ceiling. Inhaling as we shift our gaze up towards the top of the mat, and exhaling as we slowly walk our feet up to meet our hands in a forward fold. As you're in your forward fold here, not holding any tension in the back of the neck, keeping that gaze towards the back of the room. Letting your arms dangle here, giving yourself as generous of a bend in your knees as you need today. Inhaling as we circle sweep our arms up, into mountain pose. Filling up the lungs, palms facing each other, gaze up towards the ceiling. And exhaling as we slowly bring our palms together, lowering them over heart center. And completely releasing our hands down next to our bodies. On our next inhale, slowly inhaling our foot up onto our inner thigh or the side of the calf for a tree pose. Making sure that wherever you're placing your foot, that you're not putting any pressure on that knee joint. Option to keep your hands on your hips, out towards the side, over heart center, or up into mountain. As you're in your tree pose here, making sure that there is evenly distributed weight on that standing foot, that you're slightly engaging your core so that you're not leaning too much forwards or too much backwards. Maybe just focusing on one spot in the room to gain your balance. And allowing the breath to guide you here for a little bit more of a challenge, maybe challenging yourself and closing your eyes, trying to maintain that balance. And whenever you're ready, slowly exhaling and lowering that foot back down on our mat, releasing the arms back down, taking a couple of breaths here to shift the weight from one leg to the other, maybe shaking out that standing leg. And slowly coming back into a standing position. Again, switching over to the other side now. So on our next inhale, inhaling that foot up, either on the inner thigh or on the side of the calf. Again, making sure that we're not putting any pressure on that knee joint. Trying to open up our hips here. Just listening to your body, being comfortable wherever you are at today. Again, option to keep your hands on your hips, out to the side, over heart center, or inhaling them up overhead. Taking just a couple of breaths here, making sure that you're slightly engaging your core muscle here so that you're not leaning forwards or backwards, as well as trying to have evenly distributed weight on that standing foot so that you're not putting too much pressure on those toes or on the heel. Again, maybe going for a little bit more of a challenge and trying to close your eyes while still balancing. And whenever you're ready, slowly exhaling back that foot so that it is completely flat on our mat. Again, taking a couple of breaths to shake out those legs, releasing any tension in that standing foot. Inhaling as we sweep our arms back up into mountain, palms facing each other, gaze up towards the ceiling, filling up those lungs, holding at the top if possible. And exhaling as we sweep our arms back down, placing the palms of our hands completely flat on our mat, giving yourself as generous of a bend as you need. And slowly walking those feet back into your downward dog. Going for maybe one more vinyasa flow here and meeting me in a child's pose as we will be transitioning into our cool down. Making sure to follow your own breath, your own pace. Taking just a couple of breaths here,
Maybe coming back to that intention that you set at the beginning of class, whether it was that you borrowed mine or chose your own, being happy no matter what the outcome is. On our next inhale, slowly lifting up into a seated position, and exhaling as we swing our legs over, bringing our glutes down on our mat, placing the bottoms of our feet onto our mat, placing our hands alongside of us, inhaling as we take a breath up, filling up the lungs, and exhaling as we slowly bring our bodies down completely flat on our mat, trying to challenge yourself going as slow as possible, one vertebrae at a time, until you're completely flat on your mat. If you have anything like a ponytail or anything that's restricting the back of your head completely flat on the mat, you are more than welcome to take it out if it is bothering you. And if not, that is totally fine as well. Just allowing yourself to come into complete relaxation with your mat. Your body is flat on the mat. On our next inhale, inhaling our hands up, our arms out into a T position, palms facing up. On our next inhale, inhaling that right leg up towards the ceiling. Our knee is bent here. And exhaling as we slowly tilt it over to the left side of our body into a supine twist. Making sure that both our shoulder blades are still flat on our mat here. If you would like a little bit more of a stretch, maybe slowly twisting your head over your right shoulder for a full spinal twist. Feeling that slight wringing out of the spine. Letting the breath guide you here. If your head is tilted over your right shoulder, slowly bringing it back to center, gaze up towards the ceiling. And inhaling as we bring that right leg up, back up. Untwisting that spine. And exhaling as we slowly lower our leg completely back down onto our mat. Shifting over to the other side now. So on our next inhale, slowly inhaling our left leg up, knee towards the ceiling, or whatever leg you didn't choose last time. And exhaling as we slowly lower it over to the opposite side of our body into a supine twist. Feeling that slight twist in the lower spine, making sure that both shoulder blades are still flat on our mat here. For a little bit more of a twist if you would like, slowly tilting your head over your left shoulder for a full spinal twist. Taking just a couple of breaths here. If your head is tilted over your left shoulder, slowly unraveling it, bringing it back towards center, gaze up towards the ceiling, and inhaling as we bring that left leg back up, bringing both hips flat on the mat, And exhaling as we slowly lower our leg down, completely flat on the mat. And completely releasing our arms down here as we move into our final pose of the night, which is Savasana. As you're in your Savasana here or transitioning into it, option to keep your hands out, your arms next to you, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Another option is to place both hands on top of your belly. And a third option is to place one hand on top of your belly and another one over your heart. Whatever is most comfortable for you today. As we're gently coming into our Savasana, just coming out of focus with the breath, with your surroundings. Releasing any tension in between your eyebrows or in your jaw. Maybe rolling those shoulder blades back so that you're flat on your mat. Sinking just a little bit deeper into your mat. As you're coming out of focus, coming into complete relaxation. Gently fluttering your eyes closed if you haven't done so already. Slowly bringing some awareness back into the body here. Gently coming back into your breath. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Maybe swallowing a couple of times. Gently wiggling your fingers and your toes, regaining some feeling. Gently massaging the back of your head, swaying your head from side to side and up and down. Gently doing some circles with your wrists and ankles. Gently fluttering your eyes open if you haven't done so already. On your next inhale, inhaling those arms up to the top of the mat into a full body stretch. Feeling as though you are pulling in opposite directions. Your hands are pulling up towards one wall and your feet are pointing down towards the other. And exhaling as you release back down. On your next inhale, slowly turning over to your side, whichever side you prefer, using your bicep as a pillow. And inhaling as we slowly lift up into a seated position, taking one final breath as a class, coming into a crisscross position here, placing the palms of our hands on top of our knees. On our next inhale, sweeping our arms up towards the ceiling, palms facing each other, gaze up towards the ceiling. And exhaling as we bring our palms together, lowering them over heart center. Namaste means the divine light in me honors the divine light in each and every one of you. Namaste. Hope you have a great rest of your week and your weekend.